So today we will go over direction and distance, and I want to tell a few things before we get into this topic. This is a very important topic in reasoning ability, in banking exams, and also the general intelligence in SSC exams. So you might encounter at least 1 or 2 exams every year. So if you look at the last 10 years question papers, there has been 1 or 2 questions in all of the exams. So I would suggest you to make a note of all the concepts and try to understand um, the different ways of solving this problem. And I will solve plenty of problems in this session, and you can actually try to solve when I'm explaining. So that way you will understand. So in this topic, we will go over direction and distance, types of direction, rotation of angles, shadow case, and we will solve plenty of problems. So now let's look at what is direction and distance. Direction is a measurement of the position of one thing with respect to another thing. Don't worry about all these things. You just need to understand these concepts. In the exam, you will not be asked any definitions. Once you understand the way you need to solve the problem, that is enough. So what is displacement? Displacement is basically the measurement of distance between the initial point and the final point. For example, there will be 2 points, point A and point B. So the displacement is the measurement of distance between these 2 points. So the first point is called as the initial point, or the point where something starts. And the end point is the destination, where things stop. So the measurement of this distance, the distance between these 2 points, is called displacement. So what is distance and direction? Distance and direction is the measurement of position of an object or a thing with respect to another. For example, in most of the questions in distance and direction, they will ask you to tell what is the final distance and the final direction of somebody going from one point to another point. So we will go over plenty of problems and you will understand. So as I told before, in exams, final direction and the distance is asked. For example, they will give a series of directions, and you are required to figure out the final direction and the final distance between the 2 points. So how do you do it? It is very easy. You do it by tracing the path, and you need to follow the path and as well as the sense of direction. We will go over those concepts in the next slides. So now let's look at what are directions, types of directions. There are 2 kinds of directions. One is main direction, and the other one is cardinal direction. So what is a main direction? Main directions are the directions we know already. For example, we know that sun rises in the east. Always remember this: sun rises in the east and sun sets in the west. In some of the questions, they'll ask, somebody was looking at the sunset, and the question goes along. So When they tell that, that means that person is facing eastern direction. So we have north. North is when you are facing the sun, if you turn left, you are turning to the north direction. So when you are facing east, and if you turn right, you are facing south. And here, if you are facing west, if you turn to right, you are facing north, and if you turn to left, you are facing south. So the abbreviations of these directions are always given with east is abbreviated as E, and west is abbreviation of west is W, and the abbreviation of north is N, just like this, and the abbreviation of south is S. And sometimes in the questions they might ask, they might show in the picture E, W, S, or N, and you will know what direction they are talking about. So now we will find out what a cardinal direction is. See, we saw that there are 4 directions, right? East, west, north, and south. And the directions in between those directions, main directions, are cardinal direction. For example, if you look at this picture, let me write it here. If you look at this picture, this is east and this is north. And the direction in between east and north, this is the cardinal direction. Please make a note of all this. The cardinal direction is always in between the 2 main directions. And you know that the angle between north and south is 90 degrees, and the angle between a main direction and a cardinal direction is always 45 degrees. Please remember that. Angle between 2 main directions is 90 degrees, and the angle between a main direction and a cardinal direction is 45 degrees. We will solve a couple of problems on this concept and you will understand how to use it. So now let's look at rotation of angles. So in order to solve the angle movement questions, it is necessary to know about the rotation angles in either clockwise or anti-clockwise. Whenever there is a rotation in the direction of a clock or a minute clock, minute handle or a second handle of a clock, that is called as clockwise. If you observe a clock, the direction the handle will move. The second handle and the minute handle and hour handle moves. That is the clockwise direction. So here, this is the clockwise direction. Clockwise direction goes along the same direction as the clock. And now, for the left direction movement, the movement that starts from the other side is called as the anti-clockwise movement. So we will be using this in some of the questions we will solve, and in the exams you might find these problems. And always keep in mind, I will also repeat that once again later, keep in mind that please learn the concept slow, but when you practice, you will be able to solve the problems very fast, because in the exam you will have very less time. So let's look at this chart. We will look at the change in direction when a person or vehicle takes a right or left turn. For example, let's say we assume that the direction before taking the turn, somebody is going north. Okay, somebody is going north and they will make a right turn. somebody is going north and they will make a right turn, then they will be going east in the east direction. And if somebody is going north and make a left turn, they will be going west. Let's say somebody is going south. Let's say somebody is riding a bike or a car, driving a car in the south direction. And if they make a right turn, they will be going west. If they make a left turn, they will be going east. Just imagine that somebody is going towards Kanyakumari and they will make a left turn, they will be going east. If they make a right turn, they will be going west. Just imagine where the sun rises. Always sun rises in the east and sun sets in the west. So whenever there is a direction related question, you need to clearly understand where the directions are. So if somebody is going in the east direction and make a right turn, they will be going south. If somebody is going east and makes a left turn, they will be going north. Similarly, if somebody is going west and makes a left turn, let me write the directions here. This is east. This is north. This is south. This is west. Let's say if somebody is going east and makes a left turn, what happens? You go north. If somebody is going east and makes a right turn, you go south. So take a picture or copy this, write it down. This is very important. Once you get a hold of this, you can, if a problem comes in the exam, you can solve it within 10-15 seconds. That's how you save time. And if you practice a lot of questions, we have a lot of questions on EDURapid. If you practice all of them, as soon as you see that question in the exam, you can actually go to the answer. That's how you save time. The more problems you solve, you will be good in the exam. So spend a lot of time studying and practicing. Next, let's look at shadow case. So shadow is our own image falling on the ground whenever there is light. So in shadow case, this is a very important concept. You need to really understand this very well. In the morning, during sunrise time, in the morning, the sun rises in the east, right? Sun always rises in the east. If a person is facing towards the sun, that means he is facing east. What will happen? If the person is facing towards the sun, the shadow will be towards his back or in the west. His shadow will be just behind him. If he is facing the sun or east, the shadow will be towards west. If the person is facing towards south, let me write down the directions here, so you will be able to visualize it. This is east. This is south, north, and west. Okay. If somebody is facing south, if he is facing this direction, the shadow will be towards his right, because the sun rises here. The light falls on him, and the shadow will be towards his right. If facing west, if the person is facing west in the morning, always remember we are talking about morning and the sunrise time. The sun will always be in the eastern direction. So if the person is facing west, the shadow will be towards his front. So he or she can see the shadow in front of them because the sun is here. Sorry, because the sun is here. Right? So just make a note of this or take a picture. Um, uh, I suggest you to bring a book to the class and make a note of these very important concepts. As I told before, I'm going to repeat again. You need to learn these concepts very well before you attempt many problems to solve. So if the person is facing north, what happens during sunrise time? In the morning time, if the person is facing north, the shadow will be towards his left because the sun is rising here. If he is facing north, the shadow will be towards his left, that is towards west. Okay. So what happens in the evening time, sunset time? As I told before, the sun rises in the east and the sun sets in the west. So let's draw the directions now. Sun, this is, sorry, east. This is south, north, and west. So in this case, what will be the shadow in sunset time? So the sun will be here in the west direction. So if facing towards the sun, if the person, he or she is facing towards the sun, the shadow will be towards his or her back in the east. The shadow will be towards the east. If the person is facing north, the shadow will be towards his or her right because the sun is in the western direction. So if the person is facing east, the shadow will be his or her front because the sun will be here and the person is facing the eastern direction. So if the person is facing south, what happens? The person is facing south, the shadow will be towards his or her left. Just visualize, you need to visualize. So always remember, they might confuse you by giving a time in the exam, in the question. They will say this happened at 12 in the noon. That means at 12 in the noon there is no shadow. Remember that. This is very important. This is very important. There is no shadow at 12. Okay. Now let's look at the types of questions you might encounter in distance and direction. The first one, final distance based. That means you are asked to tell the final distance. That means in this type of questions, we have to ascertain or tell the final direction with respect to the initial point or the directional relationship between the 2 points. Don't get confused here. This is simple. That means you need to tell what is the final distance in the end. Distance based. That means the final distance between the starting point and the final point. That's what you are supposed to figure out. The question can be based on that. And the third kind of question is, it is based on the distance or displacement, which I defined before, and direction based. That means you need to find the final distance between the starting and the final point. Okay, let's look at an example, final distance based example. So either you can try to do it after I read the problem, or you can watch me do the problem step by step. And also I would suggest you to do the problem in your notebook. So Rajesh is facing towards the west and turns 45-degree clockwise. Again, 180-degree clockwise. And then turns through 270-degree anti-clockwise. In which direction is he now facing? So here we went over the direction concept. We went over what is clockwise and anti-clockwise. So what the question is asking is, Rajesh is facing towards the west and it turns 45-degree clockwise. Again, 180-degree clockwise, and then turns 270 degrees anti-clockwise. In which direction is he facing now? And the given options are west, northwest, north, south, and southwest. This is a very simple problem. Once you understand to visualize the direction and the clockwise and anti-clockwise, it's very easy. Let's go over the step-by-step solution. Okay. So here you need to, in these problems, you need to quickly draw what they're asking. So what they're asking is, in step 1, let's assume, because the question says Rajesh is facing towards the west direction. So if you look at it here, let's assume that Rajesh is facing in the direction of P because it is west. So we learned that west is the direction where the sun sets. So that's the first assumption. The next assumption is, the question says, and it turns through 45-degree clockwise. So how do clock rotates? So clockwise is this direction, right? The clock turns like this. So from the point P, you go 45 degrees. This is 45 degrees. That is the next step. And then 180-degree clockwise. So from this point, from point Q, we need to turn another 180 degrees. This is 180 degrees. Because around the point, the total angle is 360 degrees. So 180 degree will be the half. So now he has turned, he is now pointing towards R. So the question still goes on. And from then he turns 270-degree anti-clockwise. Anti-clockwise will be in the other direction, in this direction. Is the opposite direction how the clock rotates. So from this point, you go back 270 degrees. You reach here. So he is now pointing in the direction of S. So as I explained, he turns 45-degree clockwise and he is facing the direction of Q because this is 45 degrees from P to Q. And then in the next step, he turns 180 degree from that point. So from point Q, he will turn another 180 degrees. Now he is facing the direction R. And from there, he turns anti-clockwise by 270 degrees. So he is now pointing to direction S. So what is this direction? This direction, if you imagine the direction, it is a cardinal direction. The cardinal direction is between the two main directions. So if you write a direction here, if you write the directions of east, west, east, south and north, west. So S, the point S is here. So this is the cardinal direction, that it will be southwest. It is towards west, but it is in the going towards the south direction. It is called as southwest direction. So the correct answer is southwest. Option E, southwest. If you need some more clarity, you can always watch the video once again and do the problem when I'm explaining. Varsha, your answer is correct. So let's look at the next problem. The next problem is about the distance based or the displacement based example problem. So here, let's look at the problem. Maya walks 20 meters north. See here, I have highlighted all the directions and turns. That way you will clearly understand what Maya is doing or what somebody is doing in the problem. Maya walks 20 meters north. Then she turns right. She's going north and she turns right and walks 30 meters. Now she again turns right and walks 35 meters. Now again she turns left, she walks 15 meters. Finally, turning left, she again walks 15 meters. So in which direction and how far is she from her original position? So students, I would suggest you to try the problem by yourself and tell me the answer, or you can watch the step-by-step solution. So the option given are 15 meters east, 45 meters east, 15 meters west, 45 meters west, and none of these. So this is a distance-based problem, distance or displacement-based. That's why they have given the distance and the direction. So I'll give you a few seconds to make a note of this, or you can start trying the problem. And I'll go to the next slide and start explaining. And also these videos will be available on YouTube, so you can, we will send you the link and you can watch any number of times. Let's look at the solution now. Here, the question says, Maya walks 20 meters north. Let's, for example, for this problem, let's assume the starting point is A. And let's say Maya walks 20 meters north. So she goes north and reaches point B. See, well, when you are learning this concept, please make sure to write all these alphabets so that you will understand. But by the time you practice about 50 questions, as soon as you see the problem, you will almost go to the answer. So Maya now walks north for 20 meters. And let's assume that she reached point B. And then it says, she turns right and walks 30 meters. So what she does is she turns right here and walks 30 meters. And she reaches point C. That's our assumption. And then now she turns right again. Now she is facing east, right? So now what the question says, she turns right and walks 35 meters. So when she turns right, she is actually turning south and walking 35 meters. So when she comes 35 meters south, she reaches point D. So the problem goes on. Now turning left, she walks 15 meters. So let's assume that she is walking towards south, and when she turns left, she is actually turning towards east. Then she walks 15 meters and she reaches point E. Now finally, when she reaches point E, she makes another turn. She turns left and she walks 15 meters. She turns left and walks 15 meters. And let's say she reaches point F. So what is the question asking? The question is asking in which direction and how far is she from her original position. What they're asking is, this is the starting point, that is her original position. They're asking how far she is from her, how far she is and in what direction she is. So she is actually, so now if you look at it, how far, you need to find the distance between A and F. The distance between A and F is equal to the distance between B and C plus D and E. I want you to understand this. This is very simple. So if you write it to scale, you will get this picture. What they're asking is the distance between the starting point and the ending point. So AF will be BC, this distance, plus this distance, which is same as AF. So it will be 30 meters plus 15 meters. So 30 plus 15 is 45 meters. And she is actually in the east of A. So this is A, the starting point, and she is in the eastern direction of A. So the correct answer is, what is the correct answer? So the correct answer here is 45 meters and east. So let's look at this step by step. When you watch the video once again, this will explain you how to do it. Let the starting point of Maya's walk be A. Let's trace a route as per the problem statement. What you do is just keep going as per the problem. Read the problem and quickly write down. And then in this case, the distance between A and F is BC, because this is same as BC is same as distance between this point and this point, plus D and E. So AF is equal to BC plus DE, which is 30 plus 15. So it is 45. And F lies to the east of A, as I told. And the next point is, the correct option is answer B, option B, which is 45 meters east. Now let's go to the next problem. It is distance and direction based problem. In this problem, as we told before, you are supposed to tell the distance and the direction. So Ajay drives 10 kilometers towards east and turns to the right hand and drives 3 kilometers. So when you're reading the problem, you need to start writing it down, start drawing the lines. So let's say Ajay starts at one point, drives east, and then turns to the right hand and drives 3 kilometers. And then he drives towards the west, turning to his right. See here, they are given the direction and also they are given a main direction and also the direction, either left or right, 3 kilometers. He then turns to his left and drives 2 kilometers. Finally, he turns to his right and travels 7 kilometers. How far is he from his starting point and in which direction would he be? So the options are 10 kilometers east, 9 kilometers north, 8 kilometers west, 5 kilometers south, and 3 kilometers south. Actually, this is a very simple problem. You will definitely see one of these kinds of problems in the exam. That means if you learn these concepts, the 2 problems will be correct. 1 or 2 problems, depending on the exam you take. Okay. So let's start answering this. So according to the problem, let's say the starting point be A. The problem says Ajay drives 10 kilometers towards east. So east is this direction. Let's write down the directions first. This is east. Don't worry. The more you practice, you will not write any of this. You will know it by heart. You will know, you as soon as you see the problem, you will draw this diagram. So let's assume the starting point is A, and Ajay drives 10 kilometers towards east. So towards east is this direction and reaches point B. And the question says, and he turns to right. So at this point, he will turn to right. So he is going south and he goes 3 kilometers and reaches A point. Let's assume it is C. And from there, he is still facing south, right? And from there, what he needs to do, he then turns to he drives towards west. So from this point, his west will be this direction. So he'll go 3 kilometers and he reaches this point. And from there, he turns to his left. When he's facing in this direction, his left is south. That is why you remember initially we went over the directions and what direction you will go when you turn in different directions. So when you turn, if the question is asking that he then turns to his left and drives 2 kilometers. So when he turns to his left, he is going south. When he drives 2 kilometers, and let's say that he reaches the point E. From here, it says he turns to his right and travels 7 kilometers. Facing south, if you turn to your right, you keep going to west. So when you go 7 kilometers, you reach point F. So what is the question asking? How far is he from the starting point? A is the starting point here. How far is he from the starting point and in which direction would he be? So the starting point is A, we know that already. And how far is he from the starting point? So the ending point is this. And the distance between AF will be DE in this case plus BC, which is 3 kilometers plus 2 kilometers. That will be same as DE, sorry, AF. So he is from the starting point, he is 5 kilometers away. And what is it asking again? How far is he from his starting point and in which direction would he be? Can anybody tell which direction is he in? With reference to point A. With reference to point A, he is in the south direction. Because A is north in this case, because he has already come to the bottom of A. So it is south. So he is in 5 kilometers south. Varsha, you are right. So let's look at the points step by step. Step 1 says let the starting point of Ajay driving be A. And then we traced, as per the problem statement, we traced along. And then we found out that we need to find the distance between A and F. That will be BC plus DE. Please understand this concept. And then finally, the question is asking his final point and how far is he from his final point and what direction. So he is 5 kilometers and south. So now let's look at another problem. Mohan walked 30 meters towards west, took a right turn and walked 20 meters. He then took a left turn and walked 40 meters and stopped. Towards which direction was he from the starting point? This is a really interesting question, which is similar to the ones that we have solved. And if you have understood the concepts, you can easily do it now. And you can either do it now along or do it along with me. So the given options are west, north, southwest, northwest, and sometimes they give data is inadequate. So you need to be very careful. So let's look at the question once again. Mohan walked 30 meters towards west. You can start with a point and walk 30 meters west and took a right turn and walk 20 meters. So what will happen when you are facing west? You need to take a right turn and walk, right? There is one direction you'll be going in. He then took a left turn and walked 40 meters and stopped. Towards which direction was he from the starting point? They're asking towards which direction was he from the starting point. You need to understand the starting point and what direction he is now at the end. Now let's look at the solution. Okay, so here before you look at the answer, let me explain what's happening here. See, the question says Mohan walked 20 meters towards west, right? Mohan started here, he walked 30 meters, right? Yeah, 30 meters towards west, and then took a right turn. When he took a right turn, he is going north 20 meters, and then took a left turn and walked 40 meters and stopped here. So the question is, towards which direction was he from the starting point? So from the starting point, he is actually going northwest. This is a cardinal direction from this point. Because, let me show you how you need to visualize. Let's say this is east and north, right? East, this is west, and this is north. Let's say he started here. And the question was asking him to go 30 meters here. From there, he went 20 meters here. And from there, he went 40 meters here. And he reached here. What direction is this? This is a cardinal direction, right? This is a cardinal direction, that is north, west. That's how you answer these kind of questions. Let's look at another problem. A cyclist rides 40 kilometers to the east. So somebody is riding a cycle 40 kilometers towards east. That means he is riding towards the direction where the sun rises and turns north. See, this is straightforward. It's not saying to turn left or right. It is saying turn north. So from east, in order to turn north, you need to make a left turn and ride. And he rides 20 kilometers. Again turns left and rides 20 kilometers. Now by this time you should be visualizing where is he going and how far is he from the starting point. So the given options are 0 kilometers, 10 kilometers, 20 into square root of 2 kilometers, and 30 kilometers. This is a very typical question. I want you to be a little careful and understand this problem. So let's look at the solution. So the problem says the cyclist is going east 40 kilometers to the east and turns north and goes 20 kilometers and again turns left, rides 20 kilometers. And how far is he from the starting point? Okay, let me explain you here. So the directions are this way. The east is here, where north and south, north, south, and west. So from the starting point A be the starting point. Let's A be the starting point, and he goes 40 kilometers east. This is east, right? This direction is east. From there, it turns north. From east, turning north is going up. So he goes up towards north for 20 kilometers. And again turns left. From this point, if you turn left, you are going west. Only 20 kilometers. So now they are asking, how far is he from the starting point? Then you need to find the distance between this point and this point. How will you find out? You cannot, right? Because it is a slant. And here it is a straight line. So now this is a situation where you need to use something called as Pythagoras theorem. If you have forgotten Pythagoras theorem, don't worry. It is not complicated at all. Pythagoras theorem says, let's say this side is x. Let's say this side is y. Let's say this side is z. So when you trace one, there are only 2 points, right? Here you can draw a straight line and this becomes a rectangle. No, this becomes a square and this becomes a triangle. Let me give you a quick rundown of triangles. This type of triangle is called as a right angled triangle because this angle is 90 degrees, right? So this side in a right angled triangle, Pythagoras theorem says x square, pardon my x square is equal to y square plus z square plus z square, right? So what is y? So when you draw this is 20 kilometers, this will also be 20 kilometers, right? So this will be 20 square plus z is this. This is, if you draw a straight line, this will be 20 kilometers and this will be 20 kilometers because this plus this is 40 kilometers. So this will be 20 square. So what happens here? 20 square is 400 plus 400, right? What happens plus 400 plus 400? Now let's look at the options here. You also need to keep an eye on the answer options. Let's go over here. DC is 20 kilometers, same as ED as I told, and AE and EB are same. Hence the distance will be x square is equal to y square plus z square. Then what happens to x? X is equal to, let me write it down. X is equal to this becomes square root of 200 square to 20 square plus 20 square. What is 20 square plus 20 square? 20 square is 400 plus 400. Oh, it's here. 400 plus 400, which is equal to square root of 800. See, whenever you have a number like this, what you can do is you can simplify like this. 800 can be written as 400 into 2 because whatever answer is correct. So you already know the square root of 400. 20 square is 20 into 20 is 400. So this can come out of the square root. So this becomes 20 and the 2 remains within the square root. So this becomes 20 square root of 2. So the answer is 20 square root of 2 kilometers. What is this? This is the distance between D and A. That's what the question is asking. How far is he from the starting point? See, it is very rare a question of this complex will show up, but I would suggest you to be ready to face a problem like this and understand how we got into this situation, how we were able to write a triangle here, right angle triangle, and why we need to use Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem is the simplest of theorems. Once you understand, whenever there is a right angle triangle, the square of this is called as hypotenuse. This line is called hypotenuse. The square of this is equal to sum of squares of the other two sides. Z square plus Y square. And you know why? Y is 20 kilometers. Z is because the E and B is 20 kilometers. A and E will also be 20 kilometers. That's it. Okay, let's look at the next problem. This is very interesting. You might encounter a problem like this, but on EDURapid, we have plenty of problems, similar problems you can solve. A, B, C, D, and E are standing in line. In this case, they are not saying what is A, B, C, D. Let's assume that they are people. They are A, B, C, D, and E are standing in a line facing north. So everybody is facing north. E is standing 40 meters. E is standing 40 meters left to B. A is standing 20 meters right to C, and C and 50 meters right to E. What is the distance between A and B? This problem might look like complicated. Actually, it is very simple. If you find a problem like this in the exam, when you have practiced a lot of these kind of exams, questions, you can solve it within like 10 seconds. Okay, let's look at the step-by-step solution. So here A, B, C, D, and E are standing in the line, right? So here everybody is standing in line. So let's write, this is written down as per the problem. See here, A, B, C, D, and E are standing in a line facing north. They are all facing north. E is standing 40 meters left to B. Here, E is standing 40 meters left to B. So left to B means B is the point, 40 meters left here. That's why the distance is 40 meters here between E and B. And A is standing 20 meters right to C. A is 20 meters right to C. From C, A is 20 meters here. And 50 meters right to E. So what does that mean? A is standing 20 meters right to C and 50 meters right to E. So from E, this should be 50 meters. 20 plus 30 is 50 meters. That means between C and E, it is only 30 meters because they've given from E to A, it is 50 meters. So you need to dissect the problem like this, layer by layer. So I'm going here very slow so that you will understand. So when you're practicing, when you practice more problems, you can solve this very quickly. So the question is asking what is the distance between A and B. So if you write down properly, all you need to do is to find the distance between this point and this point. So in this case, what happens? The distance is 20 plus 30 plus, from here to here it is 40. So 20, 30 plus 40. So it is 90. Varsha, your answer is correct. So the correct option is option 3, which is 90 meters. So let's look at the last problem. Point B is 4 meters to south of point A. Point C is 5 meters to east of point B. And point D is 4 meters to the north of point C. And point E is 10 meters to the west of point D. Point F is 4 meters to the south of point E. Which of the following represent the direction of point A with respect to point C? See, what I have done in this topic is I have gone from simple problems to complex problems. So in the actual exam, you should get some problems in between. Yeah, if if we are all lucky, we will get a simple problem and one okay kind of a complex problem. But if you practice everything and understand how to tackle, you can solve both of them very quickly. And please don't think that these are complex problems. These are actually very simple. Once you understand how to tackle them, it's very simple. So the given options are northwest, north, northeast, southwest, and southeast. Let's look at the step-by-step solution. So according to the problem, this is how it's going to look like. Let's go step by step now. So what it says, point, let me go back to the problem. Point B, okay. Point B is 4 meters south of point A. So let's start with point B is south to the point A. So we go and write the point A first. And point B is south to point A by 4 meters. So let's write those 2 points. And then point C is 5 meters to the east of point B. So point B east is towards the direction where the sun rises, right? So which is 5 meters. And point D is 4 meters to the north of point C. So you go north from point C, you get point D. When you are practicing, please practice it slowly. The first few problems, try to understand it very clearly so that the next problems you can start going fast. And when you do the test series and mock tests, that's when you go fast. But when you're learning, please go slow and understand, and then mock test and the test series is where you will go very fast. And when you come back to the quizzes to solve the problems, you can go fast again. So the next point is point E is 10 meters to the west of point D. So from point D, you need to go 10 meters. So go 10 meters, you get point D, and you pass through point A. Because this point is 5 meters, this will also be 5 meters, and point A and E is also 5 meters. And point F is 4 meters to the south of point E. So you go to 4 meters south of point E, you get point F. So what they are asking here, which of the following represent the direction of point A with respect to point C? They're asking the direction of point A with respect to point C. Who can tell the answer? Okay. See, we solved another problem before and I explained you. We need to understand the cardinal directions really well. Please go over the video once again. You will understand the cardinal directions. Cardinal directions are the directions between the main directions. So this is north, this is west. So if you look at this picture, A is here, right? And C is here. So what is the direction? What is it asking? Which of the following represents the direction of point A, direction of point A with respect to point C? So with respect to point C, the direction of point A is northwest. So northwest is the correct answer. So students, that is the last problem we are going to solve today. And on EDURapid, we have plenty of problems you can solve. And if you have any questions, doubts, you can ask me now. And also you can reach out to us anytime. So in this video, in this session, we learned about direction and distance, types of direction, rotation of angles, shadow case, and we solved plenty of problems. So if there are no questions now, we can stop the class. And thanks for attending the class today, and we'll meet each other in the next class. Thank you.